Welcome to the Power of Design podcast. My name is Jack Osa. I'm an architect, born and raised in Colombia, South America. Years ago, I migrated to the United States to follow my dreams, and today I'm the founder and principal of Osa Studio, a multidisciplinary architectural design firm in Charlotte, North Carolina. In this podcast, we talk about design, business, creativity, and the inspiration we need to create an exciting and powerful built environment. In this episode of the Power of Design podcast, we're talking to Josh Storey. Josh is the managing principal of Storey Program Management. We had the pleasure to work with Josh early this year, generating his brand strategy and brand identity for his new business. Storey Program Management focuses on successful delivery of construction projects through a purposeful balance of culture, strategy, and leadership. Josh brings over 20 years of experience working in the Carolinas for clients in the healthcare, education, corporate office, entertainment, pharmaceutical, and industrial markets. We had a great conversation talking about his life, his family, and his approach to business. This is my conversation with Josh. Josh, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you, Jack. Glad to be here. I'm well. How are you?
Excellent. How was your day today?
Good. Busy. It's summertime, so the family's busy and running all over the place, and I am trying to keep up.
Nice. So I'm very excited to talk to you today. We have known each other for a while, and months ago we talked about when you made your decision to start your own business, and we started working on your brand, and it was a great experience. I learned a lot during that process, from you personally and your wife as well, and also about your business, and it was very, very interesting. I had a lot of fun. So, I really wanted to bring you in, not only to hear more about your story, but also to help spread the message, and hopefully the audience will learn and know about what you're doing.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. In fact, I tell people the story about going through that brand process all the time because, we expected to sort of walk in and introduce ourselves and come in the next week and see, pictures and graphics.
Magic.
Right. But it was very thoughtful in a number of meetings where we didn't look at any graphics. There were no colors, no pictures, and it was you trying to understand who we were. And I tell people that all the time. Like, I feel like what we ended up with, not only from a logo but just the whole brand DNA.
Yeah,
it was critical for us to help sort of think through who are we and why are we, and that process proved very beneficial because now when someone asks me about some element of the brand, I understand why it is what it is because we went through that process. So.
Yeah, and it gives you confidence.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm proud to tell that story because you wanted me to tell you that story.
Right.
It all came together.
Yeah, so. what I say that I'm really selling is clarity, confidence, and simplicity.
Yep.
And I deliver that through design services, but that's what I'm selling.
Yeah, and I think in starting your own business, a lot of times you're thinking about, I got to go get work and I need clients and people, and then there's the other side of, I got to set up the HR systems and the payroll, but forcing ourselves to think through why are we doing what we're doing? Who are we, right?
Yeah.
What are those elements that, based on who we are and our experience, why do we think our business is going to be successful? And you definitely helped us think through that. And I tell that story all the time about that process.
Cool. So before, learning more about your business, I love to learn more about yourself.
Sure.
So I think if you can give me a quick, history of, where are you from? Where did you grow up? And, kind of a history of how do you got where you are today?
Sure. So was born in a small town in northwest Missouri called St. Joseph, Missouri. My mom's family is from there. My dad went to college there, and that's how they met. And was born there, but quickly thereafter moved to Augusta, Georgia. So I grew up in and around Augusta, Georgia my whole life. Home of the Masters, near and dear to my heart. But grew up there. My grandfather was a brick mason, and so I sort of grew up with access to construction equipment. And as I got older, every chance I had, I would go out on the job site with him. And then when I got to a certain age, I didn't really have a choice. He sort of said, "Come on, you're going to come help me this summer." But kind of grew up in and around building stuff and sort of watching that process play out. So kind of knew that's what I wanted to do, something related to construction.
Mm-hmm.
Went to Clemson, graduated from Clemson with a civil engineering degree. And that's what brought me to Charlotte. So took my first job here in Charlotte with a large construction company, just convinced I was just going to go build big buildings. And as it turns out, the first role that I was on was a program management role, serving as the owner's rep, working with the Charlotte-Mecklenburg school system on a big bond program. And it allowed me to see the industry from that owner's rep project management role. And I instantly knew that was sort of what I wanted to do. Like it was just a fit for, my personality, what my passions were, and have now been doing that for a little over 21 years.
Wow.
Here in Charlotte.
So what do you think made you realize that, this is a good fit for me? What were those specific things that you said, oh yeah, this is it?
So I love watching stuff be developed, taking someone's idea and creating something tangible with it. And I love being a part of those conversations, and I love seeing the whole picture, right?
Yeah.
I think, in the construction industry, in different roles, you get to see different snapshots in time and different phases of the project. But from the owner's rep role, we get to see it from concept to completion. And so I'm wired to see things through to the end, right? That's where I get my satisfaction, is sort of step back at the end of the day, whether it was working with my granddad and, looking at a brick house that we built at the end of the day versus, from a project perspective, getting to see, those visions play out. That's what sort of gives me that satisfaction is, you kind of said it a little bit about the brand, but helping bring clarity out of what seems like an overwhelming task. And then at the end of the day, step back and get to see what we collectively created.
Yeah. So you started out working on school projects.
I did.
Yeah. I've never done a school, but I will think that's not an easy project type.
So the thing about the school programs was there was a deadline, right? Kids are going to get off that bus.
Oh, yeah.
At the end of August, and they're coming to school. And schedule was always critical.
Yeah.
And it was, it was fun. I was young in my career, young still as a young man. And there was a sense of giving back, helping build schools, helping make schools better. And, so enjoyed doing that. Did that for about 5 years and was approached by a gentleman who had a small family-owned project management business here locally that was looking to grow his team, and joined his team. And to this day, one of the best things I've ever done, because it gave me the opportunity to see the entrepreneurial side of what a small business could be, and also learn from some great role models and project managers. And it really had a family feel to it, which is, really, as we look at sort of what I'm trying to recreate now with my business, is that same, culture driven family feel, but also, a business that can go and deliver large projects for big clients. So joined his team, and we sort of grew that company for 5 years. We're acquired by a larger firm, so then got the opportunity to do project management on a national level, which was really, eye-opening to learn how other regions do it, how, sort of the learning progresses from one region to the next. But in the end, I just was sort of felt this pull to to reestablish that small sort of culture-driven entrepreneurial regional business where I could still stay connected to the clients and the projects and the people.
Nice. What do you think are your natural skills and abilities that makes you good at doing project management?
So I think, for me, and it's funny, go back to the branding conversation, a lot of what we talked about of my personality type and sort of what made me tick is some of those same things that are project management, strengths and sort of personality types. And so for me, I think obviously I have a sense of structure. I'm an organized person. That's sort of my personality type.
Yeah.
I make lists. I check boxes off. That's just how I'm wired. But I think I also have an appreciation for the relationship side of things, sort of the culture side of that. So, structure is one thing, but there's times where culture is really the strength you got to rely on.
Right.
And having the ability to have conversations and to form those relationships and to work with different people. And I think I enjoy that part of it as well.
Yeah.
And then I think just I like the leadership role. I like when something needs a decision, I like helping get that decision made. I like helping to guide people and helping to guide processes. And so I think the blend of that structure, culture, and leadership is it's really how I'm wired. And
yeah.
When I thought through it, as we talked through it, it's to me, it really is the DNA of a successful project manager.
Sure. So do you think you are like that, or were things that experiences you had growing up that kind of shape you to be like that?
I think some of it is a little bit natural. I think to me, there's got to be a seed of it there so
Mm-hmm.
that it grows. I think obviously as you go through experiences in life and personally, you see the value. I think if you look at the structure piece and the leadership piece, there's people that are effective by taking charge and sort of, being very regimented.
Yeah.
And there was probably young in my career, I kind of thought that was the way to do it. And
yeah.
But learning the relationship piece of it and the collaboration piece of it, I think was something that I always appreciated, but I've grown more and more appreciative of it as you go further in your career, right? And as you meet more people and you sort of watch people, you're like, man, that she has a real ability to connect with people,
right?
And it helps her get her list checked, right? And it helps her lead others is the way she connects. And so, how do I strengthen that in what I do?
Yeah, I've learned a lot watching other people create similar results or create better results, but in a very different way. Mm-hmm. Because, we're wired a certain way and I say, oh, this is the way you do this. But then you realize, oh, no, there are other ways. And I think talking about, like structure versus culture, and I'll see it more as like hard skills versus soft skills. Mm-hmm. I'm very process oriented. Like I could be a machine. I can sit down and do this list and I expect other people to be like that. But, I think that's one of the things I've learned. Like, okay, not everybody are machine like. Mm-hmm. There's some people that are different. And it's been interesting for me to, exercise patience and understanding and say, hey, they're going to get there. You don't have to make them do it the way you want to do it. Which, is interesting because sometimes whatever my strength is, you lean on that to kind of, grow, succeed, and take advantage of opportunities. But at some point, it's pointing back at you and becomes your weakness.
Right.
So I think the idea of balance, balance it out, and then timing. There are times that you need to be a drill and do it. But there's some other times that you have to just relax and let it go and be more adaptable.
Yeah.
And I think that flexibility is what's hard because we're wired usually, one way.
And there's times it'd be a lot easier to just say, this is how it's going to be because I said so. But in the end, you invest that time to help understand and inform the relationship to know why they may think of it differently. I mean, you and I talk about this a lot, but one of the greatest roles I serve in is dad.
Uh-huh.
Right? And kids are wired differently, right? I have one who's a type A personality and he relies on that structure. And then I have one that it lights up the room whenever he walks in. And then I have a third that is a really neat blend of the two of them.
Yeah.
And watching them have to learn how to act a little more like brother or sister for whatever that is. And as a parent, knowing what their strengths are and helping them not only hone those strengths, but maybe grow in things that they don't have the strength in.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So tell me about the time where you make that decision to start your own business and take the leap. You had a long career. What was happening, or what led you to make that decision?
So being part of the big national firm was challenging, was motivating, fulfilling. Nothing about that was, something that I didn't enjoy getting up and doing every day, with the exception of I just got further and further from dealing with the people and the team, or dealing with the project or the client, right?
Yeah.
It's, you're dealing with folks remotely. You don't have a chance to build quite the relationship. You're away from your family because you're traveling a lot. And I just had this draw to the experience that I had as part of the small local firm, and just the ability to impact the people and the projects, the ability to sort of take that entrepreneurial approach to all of your decisions that you make. And, just the ability to be closer to home and closer to the people and the things sort of drove me in that direction. I'm very fortunate I had the opportunity, because I know I learned and I grew a lot. And I hope, the idea is to pour that national experience into this regional company.
Sure. And what better project than to start your own business? That's project management right there.
It is.
You have tasks, you have all these things to do.
I
and
have a big whiteboard of things I have to get done every day.
You need to, you're exercising your skills right there. So
that's right.
Pretty good fit.
Yeah. And I think you have to we talk about sort of this, the culture part, but there's a relentless desire to get better, right? Not only get things done, but to do it better, to make each other better, and not, well, we're good at that, so let's just we don't have to focus on that anymore.
Right.
And as a business owner, having that relentless desire to get better at everything we do, whether it's how we engage on projects, or whether it's how we treat our team, or whether it's, whatever it is, it's got to be a relentless pursuit of constantly getting better, and then surrounding yourself by people that will help you get better, but challenge you to get better.
Right.
I think, especially in starting a business, surrounding yourself with people that can get things done and make your life easier would be easy to do, but having those around you that challenge you, to push you to grow, to kind of make you want to get better. That's what we've tried to do.
Yeah,
for sure.
So you take the leap, and now tell me about about your firm. What do you guys do?
Yeah.
What kind of clients do you work for?
So we sort of started out around January 1, first of the year, open for business. It was myself for a while, and over the course of the last 6 months, we've been able to grow. There's 5 of us now. Some absolute rock star project managers and people that I've had the experience to work with in the past, and to know them personally and professionally. And sort of the idea of starting this business, I really didn't think of doing it without people like that.
Right.
And so when the opportunity presented itself for them to join our team, it was absolutely, like, you're why we're doing this kind
That's
of thing.
right.
So
yeah,
there's 5 of us now. We focus on owners representative, program and project management. So, work on the client's behalf to get their project done, whatever that project is. have a lot of experience in the healthcare market locally. Atrium Health's been a great client of ours for years and years. We are fortunate to have done some large corporate office projects, some light industrial projects. We've done some hospitality projects, and are working now on some pharmaceutical projects. And so it's really, for us, understanding how a generic project goes together and understanding the dynamics of, owner, architect, contractor, and whether, the building type that we're delivering is a little bit agnostic to the process
Sure.
that, you take when you put it in place.
Yeah.
So there's 5 of us now. We're continuing to grow. We want to stay small enough to be nimble, but large enough to have the horsepower to react to large projects or large clients.
Sure.
I think we've gotten to that place probably faster than I thought.
Yeah, that's really fast, man. That's impressive.
As much as I do, this market is wide open and has been for a while.
Yeah,
so it's good timing.
You really time your decision very well.
I'll be honest. There was a lot of knowing where the market was that went into it. I didn't get just lucky, but it's for us trying to find that balance of having enough people and resources to answer the call. But, as a small business owner, you got to make sure there's the work there to help, take care of the people.
Yeah.
So
how are you managing, hiring a lot of people super fast and being still, very young as a company? How are you managing bringing in all that culture and leadership piece and coordination? I'm sure there are a bunch of procedures and you probably want things done certain way. How are you controlling that?
So I'm fortunate enough to most of the team or all of the team that we've worked together in the past. And
okay.
It sort of came together like that. So we all kind of knew each other. And I've had also fortunate to sort of have done this for a long time. So, I think it's one thing you start a new business and it's new to you, but this is sort of what I've been doing. And so there's kind of a natural feel to sort of what needs to be done. But there are things that you focus on getting the clients in the work, but there's a lot of things that you never thought of that, human resources. What's your policy on this? What's your policy on that? Payroll cycle and health insurance. And, there's all those things that come with it that it didn't surprise me. I mean, I knew that they were there. Yeah. Some have surprised me at how difficult they are to wrestle to the ground. But, I think it's all part of what we signed up for.
That's right.
But we were very fortunate to get involved on some large projects early on, which helps, right? You get a big project that needs people and it's, got years of activity. And so it's kind of we're fortunate to get involved in some of those that are perfect to help start a business with.
Yeah, it's a really good opportunity.
The Power of Design podcast is brought to you by OSA Studio, a multidisciplinary design firm focused on creating impactful experiences through the power of design. We partner with our clients to create buildings, interior spaces, brands, and strategies that help you deliver a successful project. As a minority-owned firm, we are committed to building a diverse platform of curious and driven design professionals so we can together pursue our full potential. For more information, please visit us at www.osastudio.com.
Do you guys work remote? And how do you manage, you have weekly meetings? How do you coordinate schedules? Who's doing what?
It is interesting. I think through the pandemic, in this industry, we all have learned a lot about our ability to be virtual and how much we actually can get done without being together. And I think that's all been great. But there's something about sitting in the room with your team, especially as you're trying to establish what is your culture.
Sure.
And so, we try to focus on how do we get together. we have job sites and project sites that we have responsibilities to be at, but what are those times where we can kind of come together as a company, as a team, and talk about, and not only talk about, but live out what is our culture, what is our brand, how are we going to represent ourselves, and you have to spend time together to do that. You can't. That's hard to do through a screen, and virtually, and so just having to be mindful of that. And some of it is, hey guys, can we meet on my back porch and have a conversation, and I think eventually we'll get to a point where we have a physical space that we call home with a sign on the door kind of thing. But
nice.
We're not there yet, but I think we will probably be there sooner than we think.
Yeah. What would you say is the unique differentiator your firm brings to the marketplace that any other firm offering the same service you think they cannot offer that?
Yeah. So I think, some of it goes back to the culture piece. I think business relationships have to start with the relationship part, right? I think taking the time to get to know how people are wired, taking the time to appreciate the relationship part of it, the business piece then happens way more naturally and is a much more positive experience if you've invested on the relationship part up front. And so I think, having been in the market for 20 plus years, had opportunity to build a lot of those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of the dear friends I have are folks that I've had an opportunity to work with on a project or in a business setting. And so having been in the market and have those relationships, we've been very fortunate to work on some big projects, sort of high profile projects that have, if you walk into a room with a new client and they understand that you've worked on that project before, there's an instant credibility.
Oh, sure.
It's hard to get by, hey, I'm a brand new company that's been in business for 6 months.
That's right.
But I think having good people, having a strong team, the staff that we have, I would start any business with, just because I know that the way that they're wired, I know the way that they pour into what they do, and I know the people that they are. Yeah. I think that's important. And that's going to be our goal as we grow. It's not about the number of people, it's about the quality of the people.
Sure.
And so I think hopefully that sets us apart. We're going to try to stay small enough to where that can be a priority for us.
That's awesome. So in a traditional, project, you usually have a design phase and a construction phase. And for us, from the architectural engineering design side, most of our work is that design phase.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, we pretty much finish construction documents, permit, and then we're still involved with the project construction, but in a very small percentage versus what we were doing before. But for you guys, you're intense all the way through, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to know from your perspective, what's the main difference between the design and construction phase? Like, what are the key things that you really need to pay attention to? And then what's the difference between the interaction when you're doing just only design task versus construction?
Sure.
How do you relate to both of those, and what are the major differences?
Yeah, so, I think in a traditional delivery model where it's the design team and the owner is trying to express what it is they want, the design team is trying to represent that in some type of physical space, and whether whatever the constraint is, whether we have a certain look and feel because that's our brand, or we want to be the most cost effective and quickest delivery. The design team's trying to understand what those sort of conditions of satisfaction are.
Yeah.
And so our role, we think in that phase would be to make sure that we're helping translate between an owner that may not understand design and construction.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good at running that business,
right?
But they may not understand, what a decision does in terms of square footage or cost or any other type of impact. And so we kind of see our role there as, making sure that communication is going both ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, allowing the creative process to take its course, because it kind of needs to happen.
Yep.
Versus putting the structure in place that says, look, we need to have these drawings done by this date. And, so there's a balance there. Transition to the construction phase of the project. And I mean, there is a natural structure that has, been put in place for many, many years of, schedule. And, for us, and that phase is about getting decisions made quickly, right? I mean, a lot of our effort is pointed toward our client saying, we need you to make this decision. Here's the information. Here's our recommendation, but we need this decision so that they can continue. And so there's a lot more structure, obviously, during that phase. But I think what we're seeing a lot of, and, I'm thankful for it, is this collaborative approach where the construction team gets involved in the project way earlier during the design phase so that we're working together collaboratively through that entire process, right? I mean, we've seen it where the architect designs something and goes through that whole creative process, hands it to the contractor or goes out to bid, and it comes back and we're all surprised by how much it costs. Right? And then what we got to do, we have to go and we have to redesign it. And
the architect wants more money and nobody wants to pay more money.
Right. And all the while the owner's wanting the project to get built. Right.
Yeah.
So the idea of this collaborative project delivery where you bring your team in early, where the contractor and the design team and even the electrician and the plumber and they're all working collectively to say, if we do this, it'll cost this much, but if you do this, it'll cost this much less, or we can build it faster, or whatever those conditions of satisfaction are. I think from our role, it's exciting to see the market going in that direction.
Yeah.
That, take all of the strengths of the team and put them all in a room up front and let those strengths come out at the right time where you don't have the redesign. Yeah. You don't have the surprises. And if the communication is going right, that process will be so much better for all parties involved.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. I think everybody in our industry will agree the best way to do a successful project is get all the players early involved and do it. And, it's not rocket science. Why do you think that's not the norm?
I think there's a sense, and I say it's a sense. I don't think it's reality. I think there's a sense that if we bring folks on early, we lose as an owner some of the competitive advantage that we have of bidding it out and having one firm compete against another firm. And what I try to offer our owner clients are the delta in that competitive pricing versus the delta you'll save yourself with early decision making and avoiding redesign. And I mean, in the market, the things we're challenged with now are long lead items and price escalation.
Yes.
And you get your contractor involved up here, you get your electrician involved up here, and they tell you, hey, by the way, that piece of switchgear is a 40-week lead item. You can go ahead and order it now versus it's a surprise here and now your project's delayed. And so I think there's a sense that we lose some of the competitive advantage. Yeah. But I think it's far outweighed by what you gain with the collaborative advantage. Yeah. And trying to get an owner to see that. Because I think you're right. I think from an industry perspective, architects, contractors, trade partners, everyone would agree the value is on the front end.
Sure. And especially in design fees that they're typically, 8% of the project cost. So even if you have a firm that is more expensive, but you're saving 90% at the other end. And I think that's one of the perspectives that I think you're right, that is just how people feel about the actual transaction. They're like, oh, if I don't make them compete, they're going to take an advantage of me and I'm going to feel taken advantage of. And that may happen. I understand that in a market where you don't know who they are and they just appear and you're like, okay, who's this person? But when you're in a community where most players are known. There's reputation. You
That's
know
right.
who's who. I don't think there's a need to do that.
There really is. And in this world where the market is so hot, the demand on labor resources is so great. Contractors, designers, some people can pick and choose. Do I want to, go through the trouble of competing on something that is going to be somewhat painful because there's going to be value engineering and redesign and all of those things? Or would I rather go work on something that's more collaborative? And from the owner's perspective, you have me engaged up front. I can plan my labor resources. I can plan for, help you avoid some of those other things. So I think you're right. In a market like this where we can go compete a project, the delta in fees and the delta in the cost of people is so small.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, we're in that competitive market.
Yeah.
You couldn't afford to stay in business if you charged twice what the other guy charged.
Right.
So take advantage of the value of sort of that early collaboration.
Yeah. I really value efficiency, and I'm really concerned when I see all these projects and there's all these people and there is RFP for design firms. So you get 3 firms put in probably 24 hours of work, each of the firms, all this paperwork. They know any of the firms can do it. And then all these man hours of professional time wasted because then interviews and then just one gets selected. The other time, gone. Furniture. And there is these exercises. And many times I feel that that's the way that the project manager is kind of, they rather do that to justify what they do than having a compelling argument with the client to say, I understand this is traditionally how it's been done, but it's not efficient, it's not on your benefit because you're wasting time.
Right. And I think some of that goes back to the relationship piece. Do we feel comfortable having that conversation with our clients to say, look, I am here to help guide you, not to agree with everything that you say.
Right.
And building that relationship to the point where you're comfortable with that conversation and they're comfortable with that conversation. Because I do agree, it isn't natural for many owners to take that perspective. And so someone's got to challenge that. And oftentimes, if the project manager is sort of serving in that role, they have to have that fortitude to be able to do it. It's that culture and structure that's the leadership part that is needed, in that triangle.
Yeah. We have a good amount of projects where there is no project manager involved, and I'm always, oh my God, I wish I had a project manager, because when there is no project manager, somebody needs to pick up some of that work, whether it's the GC or the architect. So I always try to recommend project managers, but it takes, certain level of sophistication of a client to understand the value, because some people are like, I'm not going to pay that. Like, I can do that.
Right.
Or no, my secretary is going to be the project manager. I'm like, no, it's not.
It's more than just processing the invoice.
Yes. Yeah.
So, and I appreciate it. So you can be one of my top BD people.
Man, I really advocate for project managers, good ones, because I work with project managers that all they do is the bi-weekly calls, double check here and there, disappear. And they're smart, because if you have a good design and construction team that are responsible, they'll pick up the pieces.
They will do those things.
They will do it.
Yep.
They're not going to let the client disappointed. They will do it. But a good project manager, man, it makes a big difference.
We tell people all the time, our role on a project is to make sure everyone else on the team has whatever information they need to do their job, right? Yeah. You're a great designer. You need decisions made. You may need some pricing information. You may need some, decisions on whether you want this equipment or this design or that design. Our job is to make sure you get that answer so you can go do your thing. And I think I know that we have a team that's what we feel like our role is, not, we're just going to stand on the table and yell and scream and, point fingers at people if they did something wrong or late. So, and I think ultimately the entire team benefits from that, right? Mostly the owner or the client.
Yeah.
right?
What are tools or technologies that you guys are using? I think at the end of the day, if you're good at project management, you just need Excel to run. But are there things that you're realizing that like, oh man, this is really helping us with pushing things. This is really speeding up the work. We're saving time, and there are tons of project management software and things like that. What are you guys using that you're happy about?
So I think for us, the best tool is something that makes the information transparent, right? Because everybody needs to be plugged in on where something stands, right? If I need a decision from you, the best way to get it is for you to know that I need a decision from you, right?
Yeah.
So any tool that provides that level of transparency, any tool that allows us to collaborate. So I know on a large project, we're using Smart Sheets, and that Smart Sheets, the action items are there, who's responsible. You can go in and see the things that I am working on. I can see the things you're working on. And it just creates that means of collaboration and communication in a transparent manner. Obviously, Excel is a tool that we use a lot with numbers. We've wrestled in the past with certain project management software packages, and we have some that are very effective in we've used, but oftentimes we see our client has one that they prefer, or our client has one that integrates with their accounting system better than others. And so we've really tried to remain agnostic to a certain project management software.
Right.
We know how to use them, but what I don't want is to show up and say, hey, we use this. And they say, well, we actually use this.
Right.
And then there's like, well, which one are we going to use, or are we going to do both? And so, I think our tools are largely based on if we come to a project and there's already a tool in place, or we come to a client and there's a tool in place. But aside from that, it's Smart Sheets. We use different scheduling softwares that help us, take big, long project schedules and break them down into, small increment in time action items. And so, again, for transparency's sake, what am I working on this week? What are you working on this week? How are they related? So, and there's a number of tools out there that do that. But Teams and Zoom and
text message,
phone call. One of the best tools I use is the House of Pancakes, and having a cup of coffee with somebody and just saying that, hey, how's this going? Or we have a concern about this. I mean, that to me, that interaction, breaking of bread, is one of the best tools we have.
Nice. Have you noticed any difference between now that you started running your own firm versus when you used to work for somebody else in your daily experience? I know you're doing the same things, but how do you feel about yourself and about what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's absolutely a connection to, a purpose of what I'm doing. And it's not that we didn't, you don't take it serious before, but now, like, especially as the principal of the business, I have my family to support.
Yeah.
I have 4 other families that I'm supporting as well. Yeah. And so I need to get this done, whatever this is. And if I need to work 12 hours that day or Saturday and Sunday, that's just what we have to do. So there's obviously a sense of responsibility there. But there's also a sense of gratification that, this is ours, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is the decisions that we make, the risks that we take, the rewards that we reap, the penalty if there's a bad decision. It's ours collectively. And so again, we have a team that I think we all feel that way. We're all motivated by that, and there's definitely a sense of pride, right?
Yeah.
When you turn in something and it's got your company logo on it, or you see your company logo somewhere, and it's like, that's us. That's what we built. And so I show the brand that you helped me create all the time.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I shared the same feeling. I think it goes both ways. It's exciting, but sometimes it's scary.
Yeah.
but it's like both things at the same time, very intense. And that's a way of going through your work that you don't have when you work for somebody else. I think it's a lot even when you for somebody else. Now it's the journey is rougher. You can go higher, but you can also go lower.
Yeah.
And you can also go lower sometimes in your own mind. Like nothing bad had happened, but you're like imagining worst case scenario. And like I realized like one of the things that I really lost, it was like great sleep. I used to sleep amazing. Not anymore. I still sleep good, but I find myself many nights waking up thinking about something.
I didn't get that done. I need to do that.
Yes. And making a list or sending something. But it's like even when I'm sleeping, I'm kind of obsessed about that. And I wasn't like that.
Yeah.
And you know, that's something that I want to get back again to it. And it's not like I have bad insomnia, but yeah, I wake up sometimes and I was not like that. I noticed that.
So I have an office at home, and it's sort of world headquarters, we joke, but it's great, very convenient. I can go in there and that's my place, right? I've got all my technology set up and I can operate efficiently from there. The downside is I can very easily, instead of go to the living room and go spend time with the family, find myself sitting in the office at 8:30 at night, just working on that one more thing. And so we have to try to find a way to strike that balance.
Yeah.
But there is. I mean, you can't just not do it. Right. It won't get done if you don't do it. But trying to offset a little bit of the stress that goes on. We had a big conversation not too long ago about vacation, right? And a lot of companies have a vacation policy that says you've worked here this long, you get this many days off. And my approach to that is we don't have a vacation policy, right? If you feel that you need to take some time off to go be with your family or whatever, I want you to feel like you can do that, and do I have enough hours to do that?
Right.
But what I've seen though is because of the entrepreneurial spirit that we have, folks don't take vacation, right? They're invested. They want to get stuff done. They want to watch the business grow. And so you kind of have to encourage them, hey man, take some time off,
Yes.
So that's one of the cool things. And you say difference when you work for yourself or work for someone else is when you work for yourself, that vacation is like, or when you work for someone else, that vacation is like, man, I can't wait to get away.
Right.
And then when you work for yourself, it's like, I got plenty to do. Maybe I don't need to do that. Or maybe I won't turn the phone off. Maybe I will, I'll take that call while I'm at the beach.
Yeah.
So there's a balance there for sure that we have to strike.
Yeah. What do you think is going to be the construction, the future of the construction and design industry? We're talking about, 3D printing, VR, and modular technology, and people building buildings in warehouses and assembling faster and faster. What do you think the future of that will be?
I think the more that we implement that collaborative project delivery approach, we will innovate ways to do things quicker, to do things more efficient, because we're collaborating as a team. The idea of prefabrication is one that I'm very passionate about. We do a lot of work with Atrium Health. Atrium has pushed it as a huge initiative of we need to capitalize on our ability to take this percentage of activities that happens on a job site and pull it off of the construction site, to perform that same work in a controlled environment where you're working on the floor at chest height building something versus in the cold or the heat on a ladder. And the value is you've got a better product. You're able to control your labor resources a lot better.
Yeah.
And you take all of the chaos that is a construction site and you reduce some of those activities so that the things that have to happen have a little more room to breathe and can sort of be done in a more orderly fashion. And so I think the idea of prefabrication is one that this market is starting to embrace. I think there's a lot of big players in the market that are pushing that. And I also think just from a labor resource perspective, we have to start to do that, right? I mean, we don't have enough labor in the market with all the work that's going on to have 30 guys on the job site if we can have a set of 10 skilled workers, in a prefab warehouse.
Yeah.
I think the other opportunity that provides is a community engagement opportunity where you can take a workforce that can learn a trade and learn a skill and do so in a more controlled environment, maybe a less intimidating environment, an environment that doesn't require them to travel to the job site. And I think it's an opportunity to help grow that part of our community. And I think for all those reasons, I think prefabrication is going to be something that is elevated more and more. It will become the norm.
Yeah.
It'll just be the way we do things.
Mm-hmm.
And we've been fortunate to be on some projects it's just been exciting, right? If, we're putting up steel, but we're also putting up all the mechanical ductwork and piping at the same time versus, normally that would never be able to happen because you'd have to wait till all that was done. And then the HVAC guy would run his ductwork and then and it's like, man, this is such a better way to do it for everybody.
Yeah.
So I think the industry's got to move towards a sort of a manufacturing mindset for all the things that are possible to do that. And I think we're seeing that. I think the idea of that collaborative model where the team all gets together early on and helps guide one another, where, the contractor has as big a voice in the design process as the architect, and the architect has as much a voice in the construction process as the contractor. We sort of operate as a team. I think we're moving there. And I think we have to, right? The earlier we can make decisions, it helps us control our labor resources. It helps us make sure if there's a supply chain issue or a scarcity, right, we can react to it. I think having all the input up front to help guard against escalation and inflation and all those things that are so hard to predict, right? Pandemics and escalation and supply, and like all of those things are really hard to predict. So the more we can move information up early in the process helps us to either react or overcome something that we weren't able to predict.
That's right.
And I think that's the way we're moving as a market. Some of it because we've had to survive, but some of it because it's a better way of doing it.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's so many other industries that they're already there.
Right.
So it's nothing new. It's just apply that process and that mindset to a different industry and, at a different scale.
Somebody described it as, imagine buying a car and they show up in your driveway with 2,000 pieces and put it together for you right there.
Yeah.
Like the idea behind that is like that's crazy. You'd never consider that.
Yeah. Same thing.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Josh, thank you so much.
Yeah, man, this was fun.
Today,
we've been talking about it a while and I'm glad I got to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm very excited for you. I'm very proud of what you have done so far, and I know you're going to do much better. And I really look forward to, stay connected and help each other.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Appreciate the friendship.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Power of Design podcast. Please remember to subscribe, rate, and review if you like this content. And find us online at thepowerofdesignpodcast.com. I invite you to join my mission to become a better version of yourself through the power of design.